They lose a heartbreaker to the Lightning, blew a 2-goal lead late. That's what's going on in sports. You got the Lions. We talked some draft a little bit earlier on. If you're wanting the Kareem Hunt thing, feel free. As with each passing revelation, the NFL looks worse and worse and worse. And a new video is out of another incident in January, which leads you to believe Kansas City and the NFL really didn't do anything. And now you have a Jason Stark report that could be the end of the shift. Gator, you found this earlier today. What exactly did he say?
It was just a tweet that I saw from Jason Stark.
The shift, by the way, is a baseball defense, and Jason Stark is a baseball insider.
Yeah, so they're considering, baseball would consider doing away with the shift because it's destroyed left-handed hitting. It kind of rendered it useless. I think lefties hit a $182 against the shift, I believe was the stat that they put out. I find it interesting, the discussion about getting rid of the shift or not, because I think you have to give players time to adjust to it. I think given time, they'll adjust to anything and try to keep it honest. I don't know if they'll be as good as hitting against a non-shift situation, but give them a chance to figure it out. If you want to adopt a process or a policy that says you can't have 3 infielders on one side of second base, okay, I'm for that. But part of me is like, you know what? It's a strategy. And as long as you're using 9 players on the field, put them wherever you want. And it's up to the batter and the hitting team to figure out what they want to do to counter that. But I don't love the shift. I think sometimes it just looks ridiculous. And I get very frustrated as a fan that players, the left-handed hitters, don't take advantage of that and go the opposite way. It really bothers me. Not that it's easy to hit a baseball. It's the hardest thing in sports to do. But putting it to one side of the field, I think the professional athletes know what they're doing, and I think that they could do a better job of that if they really committed to doing it. I think a lot of the players are stubborn in not going against the shift. I think they don't care about the shift. They're like, whatever, I'm still going to pull it, and their batting averages suffer for it.
This is tough because I grew up without the shift and didn't feel like I was missing out. Okay, let me start with that. They put the shift in place, and it's within the rules of the game. And so basically the only thing I can think of here is you basically have to have 2 infielders on each side of second base. Would become the rule. You know, that would be the rule that would eliminate the shift. I don't have a problem with them eliminating the shift. Okay, so what? You've gone back to the way it was. The game right now has an aging audience that is dwindling. And the shift, well, it doesn't take a ton of time. It does add time to the games. Over the course of the season, it's a cumulative effect.
Well, does it or does it?
I think it does, because usually I've seen it takes time to run the third baseman out to shallow right field.
Okay. But if the hitter's batting average is significantly less against the shift, are you really losing time?
Well,
because then
we're losing time of action. We're having more time between action. And I think the downtime of baseball is the bigger issue than the time of the game.
That may be, which is something they don't even talk about.
Yeah, the downtime. That's why I'm in favor of a pitch clock, because that expedites the process. I'm in favor of batters. The moment you step into the batter's box, you're not allowed out. I'm in favor of 20 seconds between pitches. I mean, I'm in favor of no warm-up pitches when a reliever comes in. I'm in favor of getting more action, less time between plays in baseball. Now, my whole life was in the shift, or without the shift. So going back to the way it was, I'm cool with that. It's just fine. It's just fine. 248-539-9797. Also, reaction coming into the Jim Delaney saying they're talking more about if they want to go with a conference championship game matching the champion of the East and West, which I think the only solution is one big conference, but I'm not quite sure how you would get it done. If you went to 16 teams, Gator, you could do a North, South, East, and West with 4 teams each. I don't know. I don't know what his possible solution is. unless it involves kicking out Rutgers and Maryland. You can't have a 14-team conference, play 10 games or 9 games, and then take the 2 best. You'd have way too many teams not playing each other, right?
It would seem that way.
So I think if you're really legitimately talking about not doing away with East and West or doing away with the East-West championship game, are you also legitimately talking about kicking Rutgers and Maryland out?
Well,
I mean, they're both kind of embarrassments to the conference. I mean, Maryland College Park it's been a mess, and the Jordan McNair tragedy, and the people that I got friends in the Washington D.C. area that say that the Maryland's athletic department is just an absolute cluster. You know what? And that they had an athletic director that like disappeared for a while, and then the other guy that they hired shouldn't have got the job. And anyway, I could. That's the only thing I could think of it where this would make sense. From an unnamed texter, Notre Dame has no incentive to join a conference because teams like USC, Michigan, et cetera, continue to schedule them. The Power 5 should freeze them out and not schedule Notre Dame. I've always heard that, and I've kind of been opposed to that. Yet I think with each passing year, I'm less opposed. Going to 8 teams and giving the Power 5s automatic bids would force Notre Dame and would give them incentive to join for the automatic bid. David St. Clair Shores. For Yao's Wine, new slogan, it's not my wine, it's Yao wine. Charles Woodson makes wine. It's called 24, and it's great. It sells for roughly $50 a bottle. It's from Sean and White Lake.
Do you think we're going to get to the point where they're going to change the college football playoff and expand it?
I don't think so. Really? It seems to me, well, eventually, probably. I don't think it's in the near term. When I listen to all the athletic directors, they say it's not discussion that's being taken seriously. The fans talk about it all the time, which is weird. I think you and I have gotten more college football calls this week about the system than we ever have in the past. And yet, almost everyone thinks they got the right 4 teams.
Well, here's an idea where listen. Maybe I'm completely off base in this. Here's where maybe it is better for college football and for fans, and appeases you too, Doug Karsch, if it were to expand. If you were to expand, presumably it's because there are teams outside of Power 5 or more teams within those Power 5 that deserve that chance. In order to get to that chance, you're going to have to schedule harder. Maybe that's an upside of it. Like if you want your voice heard, you're going to have to schedule some tougher games.
If you expand it?
Yeah.
Why does that make you want to schedule harder?
If you're outside the Power 5, you're going to want to do that. If you're within a Power 5 conference and maybe people think that conference isn't that strong, like the Pac-12 gets a lot of heat, right?
Yeah.
Lately, because they haven't had it's been a while since they've put a team in there, correct? Since Oregon, I think.
Washington 2 years ago, right?
I suppose Washington. But you know what? If one of those conferences were, and I do think that some of those conferences do a good job of trying to schedule non-conference opponents. I just wonder if there's a benefit to.
I realize you're thinking of this on the top of your head.
Yeah.
There's already that benefit. Those teams already should want to do that. They really should.
But if you're expanding, I guess if you're expanding to it, and you know that the non-Power 5 schools like a UCF, for instance, let's say that they're going to really amp up their scheduling. Does that then get an SEC team to say, wait a second?
No. I don't think so. Here's why. Because under the current system, if you expand it to 8, UCF probably gets in with their weak schedule. And already the message has been sent loud and clear to those teams is you need to schedule tougher. Yes, it's hard. I get it.
Yeah,
but when I used the analogy the other day, and you tell me I'm wrong. When you graduate from UCF and you've got your resume and you apply for a job, and somebody from Yale applies for the same job and they have their resume, and you're looking at the degree from UCF and the degree from the Ivy League school, there's a really good chance they're going to take the Ivy League school. There's a food chain. And there's a food chain in college football, too. It's probably easier to get the 3-point GPA at UCF than it is at an Ivy League school, right? So if you've got a 3-point and they got a 3-point, they're taking the Ivy League guy. if that's what it comes down to. I mean, and it's the same thing in college football. You have a great record, and against these power conference teams with a great record, they're taking a power conference team. And if you, I mean, this sounds terrible, but if you don't like it, then try to play at a place that's got a Power 5 team.
Right, but I mean, the counter to that is there are plenty of people out there that could say, look, I was incredibly successful and I went to blank school.
You can be incredibly successful. They're incredibly successful. UCF is incredibly successful. I would grant them that.
But given a chance, these people, they may not have gone to the top schools in the country, but they were given a chance just because, hey, they had a good interview. You get the chance to prove yourself at a big company, and there you go.
Well,
UCF didn't get the interview.
The resumes.